Greetings dear children. This is the second video for the chapter number 10 of history, that is 18th century political formation. In this particular chapter and in the previous video, we studied about how there was decline in Mughals and how new emerging states were formed from that decline, how the division was there in the old Mughal provinces that are Hyderabad, Awadh and Bengal, of which Hyderabad and Awadh we studied in the previous video. In this video, we will study Bengal and the furthermore 4 divisions. So children, let us learn about the third Mughal province, that is Bengal. So Bengal gradually broke away from Mughal control under Murshid Quli Khan, who was appointed as the Naib. Naib means deputy to the governor of the province, that is somebody who is lower than the governor, that means the deputy to the governor of the province. So like the rulers of Hyderabad and Awadh, he also commanded the revenue administration, right? So to look after the administrative work. In an effort to reduce Mughal influence in Bengal, he transferred all Mughal Jagirdars to Orissa. That means he wanted the Mughal influence to reduce, and for that what he did, all the Jagirdars, that means all the wealth, all the owners, all the landowners, he transferred all of them to Orissa. From where? From Bengal. And ordered a major reassessment. Reassessment meaning when you recheck something, that is a reassessment. Reassessment of the revenue of Bengal. Revenue was collected now in cash with great strictness from all the zamindars. As a result, many zamindars had to borrow money from bankers and moneylenders, as because they had become very strict about the collection and it was collected in cash now. All the zamindars were out of money and so they had to borrow money from where? The bankers and the moneylenders. Those who were unable to pay were forced to sell their lands to larger zamindars. So if they sell their lands, they will get money, and that money they will give it to the governor or the deputy governor. The close connection between the state and the bankers was noticeable in Hyderabad and Awadh as well, and was evident in Bengal under the rule of Alivardi Khan. During his reign, the banking house of Jagat Sheth became extremely prosperous. Means under this province, under the rule of Alivardi Khan, the banking house, that means the money lending and giving house of Jagat Sheth. Do underline Jagat Sheth in your textbook. It is a very important word. Jagat Sheth became extremely prosperous. So now children, there is one another part of the emerging states, that is the Watan Jagirs of the Rajputs. So basically these Watan Jagirs are altogether a new group of people that is inside an area. Further, let us read. Many Rajput kings, particularly those belonging to Amber and Jodhpur, had served under the Mughals with distinction. Distinction means with utmost accuracy and with the best results and devotion. In exchange for the devotion, they were permitted, deva means given permission to enjoy considerable amount of autonomy in the Watan Jagir, means they were given a lot of powers, whatever they wanted to do, whatever they wished to do in their Watan. Watan means their state and the Jagir means the land or the money. In 18th century, these rulers now attempted to extend their control over the adjacent regions. What is the meaning of adjacent? Nearby regions. So they are having the control in their own areas, but now they want something more. So now they are going to grab things around them. Ajit Singh, the ruler of Jodhpur, was also involved in factional politics in the Mughal court. Means they were involved in the politics and they were trying to adapt new areas around them. These influential Rajput families claimed the Subedari of the rich provinces of Gujarat and Malwa. So these influential families, they claimed, yani they had gained the access to the regions of Gujarat and Malwa. Raja Ajit Singh of Jodhpur held the governorship of Gujarat and Savai Raja Jai Singh of Amber was the governor of Malwa. Please do underline that Raja Ajit Singh was the Raja of Jodhpur and held the governorship of Gujarat, while Savai Raja Jai Singh of Amber was the governor of Malwa. These offices were renewed by Emperor Jahan Shah, that is Shah Jahan, in 1713. Nagaur was conquered and annexed, that means added to the house of Jodhpur, while Amber seized, that means captured large portion of Bundi. Bundi is there in Rajasthan. Savai Raja Jai Singh founded his new capital at Jaipur and was given the Subedari of Agra in 1722. So this is how the Watan Jagirs work. In short, they were the autonomous leaders of their own area, but ultimately they wanted more. So they started gathering the adjacent area around them. Alright children, let's hop on to the Sikhs. The Sikhs are one of those three independent groups or the rebellious groups which were also the part of declining in the independence of the Mughals. The Sikhs. Several battles were fought by Guru Gobind Singh against Rajput and Mughal rulers both before and after the institution of the Khalsa in 1699. In chapter number 8, we study about the Sikhs and also about Guru Nanak Sahib. And at that particular time, I mentioned that furthermore division of this particular part of the chapter is there in chapter number 10. So here is the remaining part. So after his death in 1708, the Khalsa rose in revolt against the Mughal authority under Banda Bahadur's leadership. Declared their sovereign rule by striking coins. Striking coins means they published a coin in the name of Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh. Children, in earlier times, when you strike a coin or when you publish a coin, that means that you are a valuable person and you are a powerful person. And they established their own administration between Satluj and Jamuna. Underline that their administration lied between Satluj and Jamuna. Later, Banda Bahadur was captured in 1715 and he was executed, that means killed, the next year in 1716. Under a number of able leaders in 18th century, the Sikhs organized themselves into number of bands called Jathas and later on missiles. That means they organized themselves into an army and they wanted themselves to be called in a group or a band, as we know that a group is much more rebellious and powerful than a single person. Their combined forces were known as the Grand Army or the Dal Khalsa. Dal is an army, okay, and Khalsa is the name. So they were combined known as Dal Khalsa. The entire body used to meet at Amritsar. Who used to meet? The Dal Khalsa used to meet at Amritsar at the time of Baisakhi and Diwali to take collective decisions known as the resolution of the Guru, which is also known as the Guru Matas. A system called Rakhi was introduced, offering protection to the cultivators on the payment of a tax of 20% of the produce. That means it is not the Rakhi that we try on hand, but it is a Rakhi that we give. It is a protection for the cultivators, for farmers who are paying tax, which is almost 20% of the produce. That means if you are producing 100 kgs, 20%, that is 20 kgs you have to give away as a part of tax. Their well-knit organization means well-constructed organization enabled them to put up a successful resistance, means to oppose to the Mughal governors first, and then to Ahmad Shah Abdali, who had seized, that means captured, the rich province of Punjab and Sarkar of Sirhind from the Mughals. The Khalsa declared their sovereign rule by striking their own coin again in 1765. Right? Firstly, they had done between 1715. Now they have done almost after 50 years again in 1765. Significantly, this coin bore means had the same inscription as the one ordered issued by the Khalsa in the time of Banda Bahadur. Means they had reissued the coins but had the same symbols and it had the same inscriptions that were there in the time of Banda Bahadur. The Sikh territory's children in the late 18th century extended from Indus to Jamuna, but they were divided under different rulers. One of them, Maharaj Ranjit Singh, reunited these groups and established his capital at Lahore. So children, after the Sikhs, now it is the Marathas. So about Marathas, we have on an average studied directly or indirectly somewhere or the other through fables or through stories. So we have learned about Shivaji, we have known about Shivaji, and he carved out a stable kingdom with the support of a powerful warrior families. So if the powerful warrior families are there, their surname would be Deshmukhs. Groups of highly mobile peasants pastoralites, that is also called as Kanbis, provided the backbone to the Maratha army. So who were the backbone? They were the groups of highly mobile people. That means they moved here and there. Peasant pastoralites, that means the peasant involving in different dairy things, and they provided the backbone to the Marathas. After Shivaji's death, effective power in the Maratha state was wielded by a family of Chittapavan Brahmanas who served Shivaji's successor as Peshwa. Pune became the capital of the Maratha kingdom. So after Shivaji died, this Chittapavan Brahman was the Peshwa earlier and he became the king. Between 1720 and 1761, the Maratha Empire expanded, means they had increased their area. It gradually chipped away at the authority of the Mughal Empire. Malwa and Gujarat were seized from the Mughals by 1720s, means earlier it was there with those kings. Mughal seized them, but now Maratha seized them back from the Mughals. After 10 years, that is by 1730s, the Maratha king was recognized as the overlord, that means the highest lord of the entire Deccan Peninsula. Peninsula is the coastal region of the country. He possessed the right to levy Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi in the entire region. What is the meaning of Chauth? Chauth means 25% of the land revenue claimed by the Zamindar. In the Deccan, this was collected by the Marathas. Chauth means 1/4 part of the tax or revenue. And if you take 100 as the base and you divide by 1/4, it would be 25%. 100 into 1 divided by 4 will give you 25%. And what is Sardesh Mukhi? Sardesh Mukhi is 9 to 10% of the land revenue paid to the head of revenue collector in the Deccan. So basically these are taxes that were to be payable. Furthermore, in Marathas, so after raiding Delhi in 1737, that is 7 years later, the frontiers, yani the frontliners of Marathas domination expanded rapidly into Rajasthan and the Punjab in the north, into Bengal and Orissa in the east, and into Karnataka and Tamil and Telugu countries in the south. Means Marathas were basically situated in the center of the country and now they were expanding in each and every area. To the west, to the north, to the east, to the south, everywhere they wanted to expand. These were not formally included in Maratha Empire, means they were not part of it, but were made to pay tribute. Tribute we already know, tribute is a type of tax, is a contribution as a way of accepting Maratha sovereignty. That means they had to pay tax so as to accept that Maratha sovereignty. Expansion brought enormous resources. Of course, when we have some new land, we will have new plants, new animals, new crops, new fruits, vegetables, and also altogether different resources. But it came at a price. These military campaigns also made other rulers hostile towards the Marathas. Means when you start conquering places all around the world, you tend to develop enemies. So the neighboring rulers, they will not look at you with a very good eyes. They will feel frightened, they will feel jealous, they will be angry at you, that at any point of time you might attack them and take their country away. As a result, they were not inclined to support the Marathas during the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. Means they did not support the Marathas in the Third Battle of Panipat. So alongside this, the Marathas also developed an effective administrative system as well, and they were secure with the revenue demands were gradually introduced, taking local conditions into account. So now they were demanding revenue also. Agriculture was encouraged, they were encouraging agriculture, and trade was revived. This allowed Maratha chiefs like Sindhya of Gwalior and Gaikwad of Baroda and the Bhosle of the Nagpur the resources to raise powerful armies. The Maratha campaigned into Malwa, did not challenge the growth and the prosperity of the cities in the region. But children, Ujjain expanded under Sindhya's patronage and in Indore under the Holkars. Holkars also are a community and caste in the Marathas. And the areas were becoming commercial, cultural and functional prosperity. New trade routes emerged. The silk produced in the Chanderi region was now found in Pune. Chanderi region is not near Maharashtra. Means when there is transportation, when there is trade, something that is made in far distant place, you can have it at your home. Just for example, apples. Apples grow in Himalayan ranges, in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, but we enjoy them at our home in Surat. So this indicates a better trade route. The Maratha capital was Pune. Agra and Surat were now expanded its hinterland. We very well know the meaning of hinterland. To be included in the Pune and Nagpur in south and Lucknow and Allahabad in the east. Means that trade increased. The very last topic for this chapter and the third type of community are the Jats. Under their leader Churaman, they acquired control over the territories situated to the west city of the Delhi. Means they are located towards the west of Delhi and they conquered the territories or the boundaries towards the west. And by 1680s, they had begun dominating the regions. That means they were started ruling. Between the two imperial means important cities of Delhi and Agra, very important. For a while, they became the virtual custodians of the city of Agra. Custodian means when something belongs to someone and it will lie in those hands will be custodians. Okay? When it lies in your hand, for example, if I have a pen in my hand, so I will say this pen is in my custody. That means it lies with me in my territory, in my boundary. The Jats were prosperous agriculturists and towns like Panipat and Ballabghar became important trading centers in the areas dominated by them. So they were very much prosperous and they encouraged trading centers also. Under Surajmal, the kingdom of Bharatpur emerged as a strong state. When Nadir Shah sacked Delhi in 1739, you remember he sacked? Yes, many of the city's notables took refuge there. His son Jawahir Shah, the son of whom? Nadir Shah, had 30,000 troops of his own. He had 30,000 people of his own. And addition to this, he hired another 20,000 from Marathas and 15,000 from Mughals. That means 20,000 plus 15,000, 35,000 he borrowed and he himself had 30,000. So 30,000 plus 35,000 will be 65,000 troops. Alright. So this was all. We studied about Awadh, Hyderabad and Bengal. We also studied about the Watan Jagirs. We did study about the seizing independent communities such as the Sikhs, the Marathas and lastly the Jats. So we will discuss the question and answers in the class, and I will see and resolve any sort of doubts that you have with this particular chapter.